General Insuk stood before the assembled leaders of Earth, unified resistance in a cavern deep beneath the Himalayan mountains. The natural fortress had become the headquarters for coordinating the final phase of humanity's struggle against the galactic invasion. Representatives from every nation had put aside centuries of conflict to focus on their common enemy. The alien invasion force faced complete strategic collapse as their losses mounted beyond anything acceptable to the Galactic Command. Their advanced technology had proven useless against an enemy that adapted faster than they could respond. Human forces were now launching coordinated attacks across multiple continents using captured alien equipment, combined with Earth Tactical Doctrine. Captain Moonyoung briefed the assembled commanders on her team's most daring mission. The humans had learned that alien forces were preparing to retreat to their orbital ships rather than face continued defeat on the planet's surface. Her Special Operations Unit had spent weeks modifying captured alien shuttles for stealth infiltration of the enemy fleet. The plan was unprecedented in its audacity. Human commandos would infiltrate alien ships while their ground forces were still trapped in Earth wilderness areas. The space battle that followed would determine whether humanity could prevent the aliens from regrouping and launching a new invasion with lessons learned from their initial defeat. Moonyoung's team had trained for months in captured alien vehicles, learning to pilot spacecraft that operated on completely different principles than Earth technology. The hybrid modifications they had made combined human tactical thinking with alien engineering, creating vessels that were superior to either species' designs alone. The final ground battle began as alien forces attempted to reach their evacuation sites. Scattered across the planet, human resistance cells coordinated simultaneous attacks on every alien position, preventing the invaders from consolidating their forces for organized withdrawal. Lieutenant Colonel Sung-ho led the assault on the largest alien base where thousands of enemy troops were preparing for evacuation. His forces had surrounded the facility and cut off all escape routes. The aliens found themselves trapped in the same type of environment that had been destroying their forces for months. The aliens made desperate attempts to call down orbital bombardment to clear their evacuation routes, but discovered that human infiltration teams had already reached their fleet. The space battle that erupted above Earth was unlike anything seen in galactic military history. Moonyoung piloted her modified shuttle through the alien fleet using stealth technology that had been improved with Earth materials and techniques. Her team attacked the enemy command ships with weapons that combined alien energy systems with human tactical missiles. The human spacefighters moved in formations that confused alien defenders who had never encountered such adaptive tactics. Earth pilots used maneuvers inspired by bird flight patterns and underwater combat techniques that had no equivalent in galactic military doctrine. Ho coordinated the ground assault as alien forces realized they were cut off from escape. The enemy troops fought with desperation, but their morale had been shattered by months of defeats in jungle environments that seemed designed to destroy them. The humans demonstrated their mastery of combined arms warfare by using every type of weapon and tactic simultaneously. Energy weapons provided covering fire, while conventional explosives cleared obstacles and biological agents disabled alien equipment. The space battle reached its climax when human forces disabled the alien flagship using tactics that had never been seen in galactic warfare. Moonyoung's team had learned to fight in 3 dimensions using Earth knowledge of ocean currents and wind patterns adapted for zero-gravity combat. The alien admiral found himself facing enemies who fought with a combination of advanced technology and primitive wisdom that his military training had never prepared him to counter. The humans seemed to understand warfare at a fundamental level that transcended any single technological advantage. Ground forces reported that alien resistance was collapsing as enemy units surrendered rather than face continued fighting in Earth hostile environment. The invaders had learned to fear the planet itself more than any human weapon. The Galactic Council received reports from the failing invasion that described Earth as a world where the environment itself was a weapon against outsiders. The humans had turned their entire planet into a fortress that could defeat any conventional military force. Insuk negotiated the final treaty from a position of strength as the alien forces requested terms for their own survival rather than demanding Earth surrender. The galactic representatives had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology but their ability to adapt to any environment and learn from any enemy. The war ended with Earth gaining recognition as an independent world. Under the protection of its wilderness defenders, the galaxy learned that advanced technology meant nothing without the wisdom to use it properly and the courage to adapt when circumstances changed. The human victory sent shockwaves throughout the Galactic Empire as other conquered species learned that the supposedly invincible alien forces could be defeated. News of Earth's success inspired rebellions on dozens of worlds. As enslaved populations realized that freedom was possible, Thinho stood in the ruins of the final alien base watching as enemy soldiers were processed as prisoners of war. The invaders who had come to conquer Earth were now asking for asylum from their own government, which considered them failures for losing to a primitive species. The jungle special forces who had started as Earth's last desperate defenders became the foundation of a new era in galactic politics. The humans had proven that survival depended not on having the best weapons but on understanding how to use whatever tools were available. Moon Young returned from space carrying intelligence gathered from captured alien ships. The galactic military had been studying Earth for months, trying to understand how such a primitive world had defeated their most advanced forces. The aliens had learned that humanity's greatest advantage was their ability to turn any environment into a weapon. The victory celebration took place in the same Amazon clearing where the first alien ships had landed months earlier. The jungle that had seemed like an obstacle to the invaders had become the birthplace of human freedom. The trees that had hidden human soldiers now provided shade for ceremonies marking Earth independence. Ain Suk addressed the assembled crowd of resistance fighters from around the world. The humans had learned that their diversity was their greatest strength. As different cultures contributed unique knowledge and tactics that created an unstoppable combination. The Galactic Armies had mocked Earth wilderness until they faced jungle special forces who understood that true strength came from working with nature rather than against it. The forest had taught humanity how to fight for their freedom and win against impossible odds. The alien defeat marked the beginning of Earth emergence as a major power in galactic politics. The humans who had once been dismissed as primitive savages were now respected as the species that had revolutionized military thinking throughout the galaxy. The jungle remained as it had always been, but now it was recognized throughout the galaxy as the place where humanity had learned to fight like the planet itself. The wilderness that had protected Earth for millions of years would continue to guard human freedom for generations to come. Admiral Sungmin materialized on the bridge of the command ship in a flash of blue light. His teleportation technology allowed instant travel between vessels, but his expression showed the strain of dealing with mounting losses on the planet below. The alien invasion force had suffered 30% casualties and morale was cracking under the pressure of fighting an enemy they could not understand. The galactic commander studied holographic displays showing the current tactical situation. On Earth, his forces controlled only small areas around their landing zones, while humans seemed to appear and disappear at will throughout the vast jungle regions. The aliens had expected swift victory, but instead found themselves trapped in an endless nightmare. Major Hayun observed the enemy command ship through powerful telescopes from her hidden base deep in the Amazon. Her psychological warfare team had been monitoring alien communications for weeks, learning how their minds worked and what fears drove their behavior. The time had come to break their will to fight. The humans had discovered that galactic species communicated through a form of telepathic network that linked all soldiers in a unit. This mental connection allowed perfect coordination but also created a critical vulnerability that could be exploited by those who understood the system. Technical Sergeant Jae-hoon worked frantically to modify captured alien equipment for broadcasting specific sound frequencies. The aliens used harmonic vibrations to maintain their telepathic links, and disrupting these frequencies would cause confusion and panic among enemy units. Yun had learned from interrogating captured aliens that most galactic species lived on worlds with multiple suns where true darkness never existed. Their cities were illuminated by artificial lighting systems that provided Constant visibility, the concept of fighting in complete blackness, was terrifying to beings who had never experienced such conditions. The human resistance began conducting night raids using techniques passed down from ancient warriors. Korean special forces had studied historical accounts of ninja operations, while indigenous fighters shared knowledge of moving silently through jungle darkness. The combination created a fighting force that seemed supernatural to alien observers. Captain Namhee led the first night assault against an alien forward base. Her team moved through the jungle without making any sound while their enemies stumbled blindly through terrain they could not navigate. The aliens possessed night vision equipment, but the technology was designed for detecting enemies in open areas, not dense forest environments. The psychological campaign escalated when human forces began surrounding alien camps and creating sounds that mimicked their worst fears. Jae-hoon had recorded the dying screams of alien soldiers and mixed them with calls of Earth's most dangerous predators. The combined audio created an atmosphere of terror that destroyed enemy morale. Alien troops began reporting supernatural encounters with enemies who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The humans used their knowledge of jungle acoustics to make voices seem to come from multiple directions simultaneously, creating the impression that they were surrounded by invisible opponents. The resistance also discovered that alien species had specific phobias related to their evolutionary history. One species feared drowning because their homeworld had no large bodies of water. Another species panicked when confronted with fire because their ancestors had evolved in frozen environments. Shun coordinated attacks designed to exploit these psychological weaknesses. Human forces would flood alien positions with water from diverted streams or surround enemy camps with controlled fires that created walls of flame. The aliens found themselves facing their deepest primal fears in an environment they could not control. The humans began leaving messages in alien languages throughout the jungle. These communications spoke of Earth's long history of warfare and how every invasion force had eventually been destroyed or absorbed by the planet's defenders. The messages described human conflicts that had lasted for decades with casualties numbering in millions. Captain Namhee personally delivered some of these psychological messages by infiltrating alien bases and leaving them where they would be discovered by enemy patrols. The aliens learned that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years and viewed conflict as a natural part of existence. The galactic forces began to understand that they were not just fighting human soldiers, but battling an entire ecosystem that had been shaped by millions of years of evolutionary warfare. Every creature on Earth had survived by learning to fight, kill, or hide from predators. The humans were simply the most successful product of this violent natural selection. Alien communication intercepts revealed growing panic among the invasion forces. Soldiers were reporting that the jungle itself seemed alive and hostile. Tree branches reached out to snag equipment, vines wrapped around weapons, and the very ground seemed to shift beneath their feet. The humans enhanced these fears by using their knowledge of jungle ecology to create seemingly supernatural events. Trained animals would steal equipment or sabotage machinery while soldiers were sleeping. Plants with natural toxins were cultivated near alien positions, causing mysterious illnesses that their medical technology could not diagnose. Jae-hoon successfully infiltrated the alien communication network and began broadcasting false reports designed to create confusion and mistrust among enemy units. The aliens received contradictory orders that led to friendly fire incidents and strategic blunders that weakened their overall effectiveness. The psychological warfare reached its peak when human forces began demonstrating their ability to survive and thrive in environments that were killing the alien invaders. Children were seen playing in areas where alien soldiers had died from disease or environmental exposure. The aliens realized that Earth represented a completely different type of military challenge than anything they had encountered in previous conquests. The humans had turned their entire planet into a weapon that attacked not just the body but the mind and spirit of invading forces. Fear spread through the galactic fleet as reports reached the command ships, describing an enemy that seemed to emerge from the planet itself. The aliens had expected to fight a primitive species with simple weapons, but instead found themselves battling the accumulated wisdom of millions of years of terrestrial warfare. By the end of the fourth week, the alien invasion force was showing signs of complete psychological collapse. Soldiers were refusing orders to enter jungle areas, and some units had begun requesting evacuation from the planet's surface. The humans had proven that superior technology meant nothing against an enemy that understood both warfare and the environment they were fighting. In-Hyun stood in her command bunker listening to intercepted alien communications that spoke of demons and supernatural forces that could not be defeated by conventional weapons. The psychological campaign had succeeded beyond her wildest expectations. The galactic invaders were beginning to fear Earth itself. Colonel Chan-woo stood in the underground command center that had been carved from solid rock beneath the Amazon rainforest. His communication equipment connected him with resistance cells across 6 continents as human defenders shared intelligence and tactics in real time. The aliens had unknowingly united humanity in a way that centuries of diplomacy had failed to accomplish. The captured alien technology had been distributed to resistance fighters in every environment on Earth. Urban guerrillas in destroyed cities were using energy weapons to ambush alien patrols, while mountain fighters had adapted hover technology to navigate treacherous terrain that ground vehicles could not cross. Warrant Officer Bitna emerged from the technical workshop, carrying a hybrid weapon that combined human engineering with alien power sources. The new firearms were specifically designed for jungle combat with reduced energy signatures that could not be detected by enemy sensors and waterproof construction that functioned perfectly in high humidity. The resistance had learned to fight the aliens using their own technology, but adapted for Earth conditions. Human scientists had reverse-engineered alien equipment and improved it by incorporating thousands of years of terrestrial military knowledge. The results were weapon systems that surpassed anything the galactic forces possessed. The Alien Command made a desperate decision to deploy their most advanced combat mechs. These massive machines stood 30 feet tall and carried weapons capable of destroying entire city blocks. The galactic commanders believed that overwhelming firepower would finally break. Human Resistance Master Sergeant Wu Jin had been expecting this escalation and spent weeks studying the captured technical specifications of alien mechs. His intelligence teams had identified critical weaknesses in the machines that could be exploited by clever tactics and proper positioning. The mechs relied on complex targeting systems that required clear sight lines and stable platforms to function effectively. The dense jungle canopy blocked their sensors, while uneven terrain made accurate shooting impossible. The machines that had dominated open battlefields became clumsy giants in forest environment. Ko-jin coordinated with indigenous hunters who knew exactly how to bring down large, dangerous animals using simple tools and perfect knowledge of local terrain. The techniques that had been used to hunt elephants and jaguars could be adapted to destroy alien war machines. The largest battle of the war began when human forces lured an entire alien mechanized division into the deepest part of the Amazon basin. Commander Ji-hoon had spent months preparing the battlefield by creating a maze of traps, obstacles, and ambush positions that would funnel enemy forces into predetermined killing zones. The aliens advanced in standard formation, with mechs leading hover tanks and infantry following in support formation. Their commanders were confident that massive firepower would burn through any jungle obstacle and eliminate human resistance once and for all. The first day of battle saw the aliens making steady progress as their energy weapons carved paths through dense vegetation. The mechs seemed unstoppable as they smashed through trees and cleared areas for supporting units to advance. The human defenders appeared to be retreating deeper into the jungle. Ji-hoon had planned this apparent retreat to draw the alien forces far from their supply lines and communication networks. The deeper the invaders penetrated into the jungle, the more vulnerable they became to coordinated attacks from multiple directions. On the second day, the aliens discovered that the paths they had carved were leading them into swampy areas where their heavy vehicles began sinking into soft ground. The mechs that had seemed so powerful found themselves struggling to maintain footing in terrain that shifted beneath their massive weight. Human forces began their counterattack. Using every lesson learned from months of jungle warfare, trained animals led alien units into quicksand and poisonous plant areas, while human soldiers used captured technology to disable enemy equipment from concealed positions. The battle turned into a 3-day running fight as aliens found themselves trapped in an environment that seemed designed to destroy them. Their supply lines were cut by human saboteurs, while their communication systems were jammed by equipment hidden throughout the jungle. Led teams equipped with hybrid weapons that combined the best features of human and alien technology. The new equipment was lighter, more reliable, and better adapted to jungle conditions than anything the galactic forces possessed. Her soldiers could move faster, shoot more accurately, and survive longer than their alien opponents. The resistance had learned to use biological weapons derived from local plants that caused equipment malfunctions and system failures. Alien machines began breaking down as Earth organisms attacked their electronic components and corroded their metal structures. By the third day, the alien division was scattered and disorganized, with units cut off from each other and unable to coordinate their actions. The jungle had become a living maze that separated enemy forces and allowed human hunters to eliminate isolated groups. The final assault came when human forces surrounded the remaining alien stronghold and demonstrated their mastery of combined arms tactics. Energy weapons provided covering fire, while conventional explosives brought down carefully selected trees to crush enemy positions. Ji-hoon watched from his command post as the last alien mech toppled into a river after its legs were severed by shaped charges placed by swimmers who had approached underwater. The machine that had terrorized cities was defeated by humans using techniques learned from beaver hunters. The battle ended with the complete destruction of the alien mechanized division. Human forces captured enough technology to equip resistance fighters across the entire planet, while proving that even the most advanced alien weapons could be defeated by superior tactics and environmental knowledge. Victory marked a turning point in the war as human forces began launching offensive operations. Instead of simply defending their positions, the aliens found themselves fighting a defensive war against an enemy that controlled the terrain and understood how to use it effectively. Henwu received reports from resistance cells around the world describing similar victories in desert, mountain, and urban environments. The humans had learned that any terrain could be turned into a weapon against invaders who did not understand local conditions. The aliens began requesting reinforcements from their home fleets, but the Galactic Command was reluctant to commit more forces to a world that seemed capable of destroying unlimited numbers of invaders. The Earth campaign was becoming a disaster that threatened the entire galactic military system. News of human victories spread throughout the galaxy as other conquered species learned that the supposedly invincible galactic forces could be defeated. The aliens realized that Earth represented more than just another conquest. It was a symbol that could inspire rebellion across their entire empire. Wu Jin stood among the wreckage of alien war machines and smiled as he watched human soldiers teaching each other how to operate captured technology. The invaders had brought the tools of their own defeat to Earth, and the jungle had taught humanity how to use them more effectively than their creators ever could. Captain Won-bin watched from his hidden observation post as massive alien machines rolled into the rainforest. The enemy had learned from their first defeat and brought their most advanced combat units to crush the human resistance. The new force included hover tanks that floated above the ground and mechanical walkers that stood 20 feet tall. The alien soldiers now moved in tight formations with overlapping fields of fire. Their thermal imaging equipment had been upgraded to see-through jungle camouflage, and their motion sensors could detect the smallest movement in the dense vegetation. The invaders were confident that their improved technology would eliminate the human threat. Staff Sergeant Yu-jin crouched beside Won-bin, studying the alien advanced through powerful binoculars. She had spent weeks preparing for this escalation by analyzing captured enemy equipment. Her team had discovered critical weaknesses in alien technology that could be exploited by clever human tactics. The aliens possessed incredible firepower, but their machines were designed for fighting on open battlefields. The dense jungle environment created problems that their engineers had never anticipated. Moisture from the humid air was already causing corrosion on exposed metal parts, and thick vegetation was clogging Air intakes on their Vaclaesiu had learned that alien thermal imaging could be defeated by reflecting body heat through carefully positioned mirrors and sheets of metal. Soldiers had spent days installing these devices throughout the jungle, creating false heat signatures that would confuse enemy sensors. The constant movement of jungle wildlife also helped mask human activities. Monkeys swinging through trees created motion signatures identical to soldiers moving between positions. Birds taking flight generated thermal blooms that looked like humans running through the forest. The aliens found their advanced sensors overwhelmed by false contacts. Private Dong Haiyan emerged from thick undergrowth carrying a captured alien communication device. He had risked his life to retrieve the equipment from a destroyed robot and spent hours learning how to access its systems. The device contained intelligence that would change the entire war. The alien communications revealed growing frustration among the invasion forces. Their soldiers were suffering from tropical diseases that their medical technology could not treat effectively. Many troops were experiencing severe allergic reactions to earth plants and insects that their immune systems had never encountered. More importantly, the alien equipment was failing at an alarming rate. Mechanical components designed for sterile environments were breaking down. In the harsh jungle conditions, electric systems were shorting out due to moisture, and precision instruments were becoming clogged with dirt and plant matter. Wan Bin realized that the jungle itself was fighting the invasion more effectively than any human weapon. The hostile environment was destroying alien technology faster than battles, where the invaders had never encountered a world where nature actively opposed their presence. Lieutenant Yun Young arrived at the observation post with reports from scout teams throughout the region. The aliens were advancing in 3 separate columns, trying to surround and eliminate human positions. Her intelligence network had identified the perfect location for a massive ambush. The target was a narrow valley called Eagle Canyon, where all 3 alien columns would converge before advancing toward a major human settlement. The canyon had steep walls covered in dense vegetation and only one way in or out. It was the perfect killing ground for an enemy that relied on heavy vehicles. Young had spent 2 weeks preparing the ambush site with the help of local indigenous people. These forest experts knew exactly where to place charges for maximum effect and how to create debris fields that would trap enemy vehicles. The aliens would walk into a carefully prepared death trap. The human forces included former military personnel from many different countries who had put aside old rivalries to fight the common threat. Korean special forces worked alongside Brazilian commandos and American Rangers, sharing tactics and equipment to create the most effective fighting force possible. As the alien columns entered Eagle Canyon, Eugene gave the signal to begin the attack. Massive trees that had been partially cut began falling across the valley floor, blocking the enemy's retreat route. The aliens found themselves trapped in a box canyon with no way to escape. Explosive charges detonated along the canyon walls, bringing down tons of rock and debris onto the alien vehicles. The hover tanks that had seemed so powerful on open ground were helpless when buried under falling boulders. Their energy shields could stop projectiles, but not the crushing weight of stone. Human soldiers appeared from concealed positions throughout the canyon, firing captured alien weapons. Alongside their traditional firearms, the combination of advanced energy weapons and simple kinetic rounds created a devastating crossfire that the aliens could not counter. The battle raged for 6 hours as the aliens tried desperately to break out of the trap. Their mechanical walkers attempted to climb the canyon walls, but the steep slopes were too unstable to support their weight. Several machines lost their footing and crashed to the valley floor. Dong Haiyan used his captured communication device to intercept alien battle reports. The enemy commanders were ordering orbital bombardment of the canyon, but their ships could not target accurately through the dense jungle canopy. The aliens were trapped by the same environment they had planned to easily conquer. As darkness fell, the remaining alien forces attempted a final breakout charge toward the canyon mouth. Wan Bin had anticipated this move and positioned his best fighters to block their escape route. The humans used night vision equipment captured from previous battles to maintain their advantage. The aliens had never fought in true darkness, as their homeworlds had multiple suns that provided constant illumination. Their artificial lighting systems made them easy targets for human snipers who had learned to move silently through the jungle. Night, when dawn broke, the canyon floor was littered with destroyed alien vehicles and disabled robots. The human forces had captured enough advanced equipment to arm 3 more resistance cells while suffering minimal casualties. The aliens who survived the battle retreated in complete disorder. The victory at Eagle Canyon marked a turning point in the war. The alien invasion forces realized they were facing an enemy that could turn any terrain into a deadly maze. Their technological superiority meant nothing when fighting in an environment that actively opposed their presence. Eugene stood among the wreckage of alien machines and smiled as she watched human soldiers salvaging useful equipment. The invaders had brought the tools of their own defeat to Earth, and the jungle had taught the humans how to use them. The forest was alive, and it was hungry for alien blood. The massive alien dropships descended through the morning mist like metal mountains falling from the sky. Sergeant Dalian pressed herself against the rough bark of an ancient tree and watched through her rifle scope as the enemy vessels landed. In the clearing below, the ships were larger than any building she had ever seen, and their engines burned the grass black as they touched down on Earth soil. Hundreds of robotic soldiers marched out of the ships in perfect rows. Their metal feet stomped in unison, creating a sound like thunder rolling across the jungle floor. Each robot stood 7 feet tall and carried energy weapons that glowed with deadly blue light. Their armor was polished silver that reflected the sunlight like mirrors. Commander So Young had predicted this exact landing spot 3 weeks earlier. Her intelligence team had studied alien tactics from other conquered worlds and learned that the invaders always chose large open areas for their initial assault. The humans had used that time to prepare a very special welcome for their uninvited guests. Yun counted over 500 robots in the first wave, with more still pouring from the dropships. The aliens had also brought hover tanks that floated 3 feet above the ground and moved without making any sound. These machines carried weapons that could destroy entire buildings with a single shot. The alien commander was a tall creature with 4 arms and skin like green leather. He stood on a platform that rose from the largest dropship and surveyed the jungle around the landing zone. His soldiers formed defensive positions while engineers began setting up communication equipment and supply depots. Private Hyansu lay motionless in the canopy 40 feet above the alien base. His body was covered in mud and leaves that made him invisible to the enemy sensors below. He had been hiding in this tree since before dawn, waiting for the perfect moment to begin the attack. The first alien patrol ventured into the jungle 2 hours after landing. 20 robots marched in formation with their sensors scanning for any signs of human activity. Their leader was confident that his advanced technology would detect any ambush long before his soldiers walked into danger. The robots moved deeper into the forest, following what appeared to be an animal trail. The path was just wide enough for their formation and seemed to lead toward a water source where humans might be hiding. The alien commander had ordered his forces to secure all rivers and streams within 5 kilometers of the landing zone. Yunsu watched the patrol pass beneath his hiding spot, then used hand signals to communicate with other hidden soldiers. The humans had learned these silent communication methods from indigenous hunters who had used them for centuries to coordinate attacks on dangerous prey. Corporal Minho crouched behind a fallen log 50 meters ahead of the alien patrol. His face was painted with natural mud and plant dyes that broke up his human outline. The robot's thermal sensors could detect body heat, but the jungle canopy blocked most infrared radiation from reaching their equipment. The alien patrol reached the predetermined kill zone just as the sun reached its highest point. The robots spread out in a defensive circle while their leader consulted a holographic map that showed the local terrain in 3 dimensions. The machine was trying to determine the best route to the nearest water source. Minho made a sound exactly like a howler monkey calling to its mate. The noise was so perfect that even human ears could not tell it was artificial. The signal told all hidden soldiers that the enemy was in position and the attack should begin immediately. Yunsu pulled a simple rope that had been tied to a heavy log balanced high in the trees. The massive piece of wood swung down like a pendulum and smashed into 3 robots with enough force to crush their metal bodies. The surviving machines spun around Trying to locate the source of attack, the ground beneath the alien patrol suddenly collapsed, revealing a pit filled with sharpened wooden stakes that had been hardened in fire. Several robots fell into the trap while others stumbled on the unstable ground. Their perfect formation was broken, and confusion spread through their electronic communications. Human soldiers emerged from the jungle like ghosts materializing from the green shadows. Dalian fired her rifle from behind a tree trunk 60 meters away. Her bullets were designed to penetrate robot armor, and each shot was aimed at critical joints and sensor arrays. More humans appeared from positions the aliens had never detected. Private Junho had been lying under a pile of leaves and branches only 10 meters from the patrol. His camouflage was so effective that he could have reached out and touched the robots as they passed. The robots tried to return fire, but their energy weapons were designed for long-range combat in open areas. The dense jungle limited their sight lines to only a few meters, and their shots burned harmlessly into tree trunks and thick vegetation. Minho threw primitive spears tipped with metal points salvaged from destroyed alien equipment. The weapons were simple but effective against robot joints and optical sensors. Several machines were blinded by direct hits to their visual systems. The battle lasted only 12 minutes but felt like hours to the participants. When the shooting stopped, 15 robots lay destroyed or disabled in the jungle clearing. The surviving 5 machines retreated toward their base, carrying damage reports that shocked their commanders. The alien base commander received the first battlefield reports with disbelief. His advanced soldiers had been defeated by primitives using wooden weapons and simple tactics. The humans had shown no advanced technology, yet had destroyed 3/4 of his patrol. Dayun and her team melted back into the jungle before alien reinforcements could arrive. They moved through the forest using paths that only indigenous people knew, leaving no trace of their passage. The robots that came to investigate found only destroyed machines and empty jungle. The aliens tried to use their communications equipment to call for orbital support, but discovered that their signals were being blocked by electronic jamming devices hidden throughout the forest. The humans had captured alien technology from crashed scout ships and learned how to disrupt enemy communications. As night fell, the aliens realized they were trapped in a hostile environment unlike anything they had encountered in previous conquests. Their thermal imaging systems were useless in the hot, humid jungle, and their motion detectors could not distinguish between humans and the countless animals moving through the darkness. Strange sounds echoed through the forest as human soldiers used animal calls to coordinate their movements. The aliens heard howls, roars, and screams that seemed to come from every direction. Their psychological warfare specialists had never prepared them for an enemy that could mimic the voices of dangerous predators. By dawn, only 3 robots from the original patrol had returned to base. They carried recordings of the attack that showed how quickly their advanced formation had been destroyed by primitive weapons and simple tactics. The alien commanders began to realize that conquering Earth might not be as easy as they had expected. The jungle had come alive around them, and every tree could hide an enemy. Every shadow could conceal a trap. The humans had turned their entire world into a weapon, and the aliens were just beginning to understand what that meant for their invasion plans. Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of his massive warship and looked down at the blue planet called Earth. His yellow eyes glowed with amusement as he read the intelligence reports about the primitive humans below. The species still used metal, bullets, and explosive chemicals to fight their wars, while his people had mastered energy weapons that could melt through any armor in seconds. The Galactic Federation had conquered over 3,000 worlds in the past century. Each victory had been swift and complete thanks to their superior technology. Their plasma cannons could destroy entire cities from orbit, and their robotic armies never tired or felt fear. The humans were just another backward species that would soon kneel before Galactic might. Admiral Kyung-ho entered the bridge carrying a datapad filled with Earth military information. He was the most feared commander in the entire fleet, having personally overseen the conquest of 47 different worlds. His silver armor bore the scars of countless battles, and his reputation struck terror into the hearts of enemies across the galaxy. Look at this, Taemin, he said while laughing. The humans still hide in forests and fight with primitive weapons. They have no energy shields, no plasma technology, and their fastest ships cannot even leave their own solar system. How did such a weak species survive this long time in? Studied the images of human soldiers crawling through mud and dense vegetation, the aliens found it amusing that these creatures would choose to fight in such dirty, uncomfortable conditions instead of meeting their enemies in proper battlefield formations. Their own armies always fought in open spaces where their advanced technology could be used most effectively. The human military files showed soldiers wearing green and brown clothing that helped them blend into natural surroundings. This camouflage concept seemed pointless to the aliens, whose sensors could detect any life form from great distances. Their thermal imaging could see body heat through walls, and their motion detectors could track movement even in complete darkness. Commander B.O. Ram approached the two senior officers with additional intelligence reports. She was younger than the others, but had earned her rank through brutal efficiency in previous campaigns. Her red scales gleamed under the bridge lighting as she prepared to brief them on the upcoming invasion. The humans appear to be scattered across their planet in small groups, she reported. They have no unified command structure and their communication systems are primitive. Radio waves that we can easily intercept. Their largest military units contain only a few thousand soldiers compared to our divisions of 50,000 mechanized troops. The alien officers found this information particularly amusing. Their own military doctrine emphasized massive concentrated forces that could overwhelm any opposition through sheer firepower. The idea of splitting forces into tiny units seemed like tactical suicide to commanders trained in galactic warfare. King Ho examined orbital scans, showing dense green forests covering much of the human homeworld. The vegetation was so thick that their sensors could barely penetrate to ground level. These jungles appeared to be where many human military units were hiding like frightened animals seeking shelter from predators. They think their primitive forests will protect them from our might, he declared while pointing at the jungle images. Our hover tanks can burn through any vegetation, and our energy weapons will clear paths through their thickest forests. These humans will learn that nature cannot stand against advanced technology. The invasion plan was simple and followed standard galactic protocol. Drop massive armies at strategic points around the planet, then sweep outward to eliminate all resistance. The aliens would establish secure bases in cleared areas and use their superior mobility to hunt down scattered human forcemen. Ordered his technical staff to prepare landing zones in several jungle regions. The thick forest canopy would be cleared by orbital bombardment, creating open areas where alien forces could establish forward operating bases. From these positions they could launch systematic sweeps to eliminate any remaining human resistance. The alien commanders had conquered forest worlds before, though none quite like Earth. Most previous jungle campaigns had lasted only days because primitive species quickly surrendered when faced with galactic firepower. The humans would likely follow the same pattern once they witnessed the true power of advanced alien technology. Ram suggested using their newest robotic soldiers for the initial assault. These mechanical warriors felt no fear or pain and could operate continuously without rest. Their energy weapons never ran out of ammunition, and their armor could withstand anything the humans might possess. The robots would march through the jungles in perfect formation, destroying everything in their path. The three commanders discussed their expectations for the campaign. Kyung Ho predicted total victory within 1 week, while Temin thought it might take 2 weeks to hunt down all the scattered human survivors. B.O. Ram was the most optimistic, suggesting that most humans would surrender after seeing just one demonstration of alien power. None of them considered that the dense jungles might actually favor the defending humans. Their military training focused on open battlefield tactics, where superior technology could dominate any engagement. The concept of fighting in confined spaces, filled with obstacles and limited visibility, was foreign to their experience. The aliens had never faced an enemy that considered the natural environment to be their greatest ally. Previous species either fought in the open, where they could be easily defeated, or hid in cities and caves where they could be systematically eliminated. The humans seemed to be choosing a third option that the galactic forces did not understand. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, Lieutenant Jinwoo received encrypted communications from military command centers around the World alien ships had been detected entering Earth orbit and invasion appeared imminent. His Special Forces unit had been training local fighters in guerrilla warfare techniques for months, preparing for exactly this scenario. Jinwoo understood that conventional military tactics would be useless against an enemy with such overwhelming technological advantages. The humans had studied every alien invasion in galactic history and learned that species survived only by adapting their fighting methods to exploit enemy weaknesses. The Korean Special Forces officer looked around at the dense green canopy that surrounded his hidden base. The aliens saw this jungle as an obstacle to be cleared, but Jinwoo knew it could become their greatest weapon. The forest had protected human civilizations for thousands of years and would do so again if they fought smart instead of hard. His team had spent months learning from indigenous hunters who knew every sound and shadow in the rainforest. These local experts could move through the jungle without making any noise, and could disappear completely even when standing only meters away. Their knowledge would be crucial in the coming battle. The aliens were about to learn that conquering Earth would not be like their previous easy victories. The humans had turned their entire planet into a fortress where every tree and stream could become part of the defense. Their wilderness would teach the galactic invaders that sometimes primitive methods could defeat advanced technology. Jinwoo checked his equipment one final time as alien ships began descending through the atmosphere. The real war was about to begin, and the overconfident aliens had no idea what they were walking into. The jungle was waiting, and it was hungry.